There are different types of marine biologists. You have the ones that study dolphins, corals, and oysters and conduct their research in pristine areas of deep waters, coral reef, or mangrove shorelines. And there are different ones. I'm one of those. My name is Dr. Ido Sela, and I'm a marine biologist that's specializing in the biology of industrial and urban waterfronts. I'm one of those who dive at ports and outlets of power plants and study the biology that developed on piers, breakwaters, and bridge foundations. If you had a chance to catch a ride with Richard Branson or Jeff Bezos to space, and you look back at Earth at night, this is what you'll see. 50% of world population reside along coastlines, and the growth of this 50% is occurring faster than human population growth in general. It turns out that most of us are beach bums. This huge mass of people require different coastal infrastructure to support its needs. If it's ports to deliver goods, breakwater to protect our cities, or bridges for transportation, or many other structures that are built where the sea meets the land. We're putting immense pressure on our waterfronts. Our cities and industrial area doesn't stop at the waterline. They go deeper into the water and replace some of the richest habitats on Earth with man-made structures such as seawalls, piers, piles, and pipelines. And this is happening in our closest waterfronts, where we live and work and commute, exactly the places where we need those priceless ecosystem services such as CO2 sequestration, water filtration, fish reproduction sites, biodiversity, or just our near-home accessible nature. The thing is that for many years we considered the sea in front of our urban and industrial waterfronts as our dirty old yard, a place that nobody actually sees or visits. Many coastal cities from Mumbai to New York don't promote people interaction with water due to health concerns. For years, we mistreated our waterfronts, the closest option to interact with nature for more than 50% of world population. And we lost those valuable resources in the place we need them most. As being a part of the other type of marine biologist, I study the difference between natural marine ecosystems and man-made ones. Coral reef, oyster beds, seagrass, or mangrove provide a range of ecosystem services, such as carbon sequestration, water filtration, nurseries for juvenile fish, biodiversity, and other ecological factors that cannot be found in urbanized industrial waterfronts. Why is it? Why those waterfronts are usually associated with poor water quality, low biodiversity, and the dominance of invasive species? If we want to figure this out, we will need to dive in and understand how those structures are designed and what are they built from. Well, the answer is actually simple. It's mostly concrete. 70% of world coastal infrastructure are concrete-based. This material, that is responsible for 4 to 8% of world CO2 emissions, is used for the construction of ports, breakwaters, outflows, and many other structures along our coastline. It is cost-effective, accessible, and durable, and it's the natural choice for construction in many parts of the world. Now, maybe a quick stop for Biology 101. One of the unique differences between the life on land and the life in the water is that on land, only plants live their whole life at one point, completely stationary. And in the water, both plants and animals do that. Coral, oysters, mussels, and barnacles are swimming as little babies in the plankton until they choose where to settle, and then once they find a good spot, they will be there for life. And apparently, most of those guys don't think our coastal infrastructure is a good spot. Well, in the last 2 decades, my dear friend and colleague Dr. Shimrit Parkol-Finkel and myself studied ways to make coastal infrastructure a good spot. And naturally, we focused on concrete. We started with tweaking concrete in the lab and checking how this affected its ability to support the growth of different organisms, and at a certain point, we found a way to make concrete support more biology. A way to have more species growing on the concrete. Then, we moved and tested this new concrete in the sea with different surfaces at different locations around the world. And once we pulled those tests out, we found that not only we can make concrete support much more species of marine organisms, we can also gain other advantages from this living crust. This cover that you see on the screen is made from shells of oysters and other marine organisms that secrete calcium carbonate in order to attach themselves to the surface. I'm talking about corals and oysters and barnacles and tube worms that with time encapsulate the concrete in what we called biogenic buildup. This buildup creates a thriving habitat and attracts more species to forage and find shelter on the surface. But it's not only that. In the process in which those organisms create their shells, carbon dioxide is absorbed and fixed. We can now harness the waterfronts to support ecology and carbon dioxide sequestration. 1 kilometer of a modified concrete seawall can consume out of the atmosphere around 2 tons of CO2 each year. This is the same amount of CO2 that is consumed by 100 adult trees at the same time. The ability to make coastal infrastructure support healthy biological communities means we can bring those missing ecosystem services to urban and industrial waterfronts. We are now able to better protect our shorelines from storms and sea level rise while supporting nature and using nature to support us. Look at this image showing a 1-year-old project with the standard concrete units and the modified ones that were installed at the same day. This biological crust is not just better for the ecology, it's also protecting the infrastructure. It encapsulates the surface and glues the units together, making the infrastructure more resilient. This is bioprotection in practice. Concrete with a cover of oyster can be 10 times stronger than bare concrete. Seawalls that are covered with barnacles and algae will develop less cracks and thus require less maintenance and have a longer lifespan. I guess it's true that only after you lose something you start to appreciate it. More and more ports, cities, and other coastal asset order are now looking for ways to increase biodiversity, water quality, and other ecological factors in the water, and bring back those needed ecosystem services. Bio-enhanced waterfronts are more resilient to climate change, has a carbon dioxide sequestration capabilities, and provide ecosystem services that are missing in urban and industrial waterfronts. We can now reconnect to our waterfronts and construct our ports, breakwaters, and waterfronts in a more responsible way. It's actually a win-win solution, good both for the environment and for our infrastructure.